Hello and welcome to the Force Friday show, the weekly show from Movie Burner Entertainment, where we discuss all things Star Wars, be it canon, film related, anything relating into Star Wars. What are we discussing first this week, Stephen?
First up, John, why Mark Hamill doesn't care about returning to Star Wars again. Nobody's quite sure what Star Wars Episode 9 has in store, but if Mark Hamill is truly done with the franchise, it turns out he's totally okay with that. The man who played Luke Skywalker admits that he just doesn't care if he returns to the galaxy far, far away, because if he does, he'll do so without his friends from the franchise. Specifically, he's saying that losing Carrie Fisher has really damaged his ability to enjoy being part of Star Wars anymore, and according to Mark Hamill, he added, "It really has tarnished my ability to enjoy it to its fullest. You were asking earlier, are you going to come back? I don't care anymore on that level because Han Solo is gone, Luke is gone. You just can't get the band back together the way you wanted it to be, and it shouldn't be that way. It is what it is. Rather than being sorry that we can't have more of her, I'm just grateful that we had the time with her that we did."
Yes, this is very interesting, Stephen, isn't it? I can see his point of view, in a way, where he's saying he can't get the old gang back. Obviously, Han Solo's been killed off in The Force Awakens, Luke's been killed off now, the only way he can come back is a Force ghost, and obviously Carrie Fisher tragically lost her life a year and a half ago now. So I can see his point of view where he's saying it'll not be the same for him coming back. He'll not have the old familiar faces. Obviously, he'll have Anthony Daniels, but nobody wants to work with Anthony Daniels anyway. I'm only joking. I think Mark actually has a good relationship with Anthony. He says he's quite a funny guy. Sorry, Anthony, but you won't be listening to this anyway, so who cares? In a way, I can agree with what he's saying. I can see his point of view, but in another way, something's saying to me he's contradicting himself here. Because I do recall a few weeks back, St Patrick's Day when he was in Dublin, he says that he would love to come back. It was all in JJ's hands. If you can't enjoy being in a Star Wars film, then there's something wrong with you. And now, fast forward 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, I don't know how long ago it was now, I'm losing track here. He's now saying that he's not interested in coming back, he doesn't care about it, so I'm kind of a conflicted here. I can get on board with what he's saying, I understand it's not going to be the same for him, but you're contradicting yourself, Mark, here. I don't know what to make of it.
At this point, John, it's anybody's guess whether or not Hamill will return in Episode 9. If he does, it's going to be a very scaled down role for him anyway, coming back as a Force Ghost. On the flip side of that, this is certainly for the older generation Star Wars fans. I think one of the main reasons that we'll come back to see Episode 9 is to see the return of Luke Skywalker, which is quite ironic. Who knows? I think it's very sad that this is the way things have turned out. You know, from a storytelling point of view, you know, Han Solo's death was very dramatic, very emotional, and I think it added a lot of weight to The Force Awakens, specifically those scenes. Certainly did add the emotional weight and baggage to the character of Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, and where his character was going to go, you know, down that path. You know, in the real world, Harrison Ford was wanting this character killed off after The Empire Strikes Back. He didn't want to return for Return of the Jedi anyway, or certainly be killed off in Return of the Jedi, just to add that kind of weight to that film. The Last Jedi, a lot of people are still unhappy on the handling of Luke Skywalker, and sadly we've lost Carrie Fisher in December 2016, who was going to have such a big part in Episode 9. I think for the older Star Wars fans that would have been enough to you know, draw them back in and see the final episode of this sequel trilogy. As far as Mark Hamill's comments go, I'm going to take this with a pinch of salt. I talked to you about this last night, John, that this could be an agent's tactic to get a better deal, because I'm not sure if he's already signed on for Episode 9. I don't actually know how they handled the original 3 and contractually anyway, because it certainly, you know, in hindsight, when you look at the sort of plan of this trilogy, it certainly has been on the seat of their pants writing. I know that obviously when JJ came in to do Episode 7, carrying on the story, there was obviously a template there for Rian Johnson to work with, whether or not he wanted to you know, carry on JJ's work or not, which, you know, I think he's disregarded some things and he's carried some things forward anyway, and then, you know, in turn he's did the same for JJ Abrams coming back for Episode 9. So I don't really know what their plans were for the original 3 anyway. Certainly when the news broke back in 2013, there was a heavy emphasis on these actors, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, coming back in supporting roles anyway. I think a lot of the fandom accepted that they wouldn't be big players in this trilogy anyway. The fact that was announced very early on, and Mark Hamill himself, has admitted that and accepted that. What I detect is, from interviews, that he's not 100% happy the way his character was handled. When this news broke and I saw that headline that he's just not interested in Star Wars anymore, I did think, my initial reaction was that he's still a bit miffed with the handling of the character, which is, when you do read the report, it's far from that. Yeah. It's certainly, if it is an agent's tactic, then it's a very clever one to get a good deal to make him return for episode 9. I wouldn't like to see the actor, being deflated, that the fact that he's not going to be able to, act with Harrison Ford, and certainly not with Carrie Fisher now, that the enjoyment factor is away, because certainly during the promotion of The Last Jedi cinematic release, and obviously the Blu-ray in the last few weeks, he seems to be enjoying the promotional aspects of it, but whether or not he's just had enough, who knows.
Yeah, I mean, it could possibly be down to agent interference, Stephen. He could be whispering in his ear, don't be too keen in your interviews. We've got to negotiate here and get you a better deal if you are to return for episode 9. Because certainly if they do continue on the way they've been going, he's certainly not going to be coming back in any potential other trilogies which follow on from this sequel trilogy. Because it looks like the family are wanting to cast out the old and push forward with the new characters. Even if they aren't as interesting or have that pull that the original 3 had. Also with Harrison Ford, he's just had the sheer star power of that chap. The guy's just charismatic, he's a great actor. But with Mark, he's just an iconic character. The Luke character's he's my favourite character. For me, he was Star Wars. I said that before, and it's something I firmly believe. But in terms of the article, you're right, Stephen, the title's very clickbaity. It's saying it doesn't care, but when you look into it, it's kind of a pushing that he's maybe disillusioned with Star Wars, but when you look at it, he's really saying that looks the direction they're going, they're breaking all the links to the original one. When Han Solo get killed, he says that's me never working with Luke. Luke will never see Han again. That was them losing a member of the band. Then he's on to say when Luke dies in The Force Awakens, he says that's another link. And then also when they lose Carrie in real life, he's saying that's it, you can never go home again. And that was an indication for him to move on. So it's really the death of Carrie Fisher looks like what's brought this on more than anything. And just not getting to work with her and having that camaraderie and the banter they had back behind the scenes. Because by all accounts they had a very close relationship that was almost brother and sister. So you can understand, as I says, he's maybe disillusioned with it. Certainly the direction of the character, you can understand if he's a little bit miffed with the way they've took the Luke character. Could have done things very differently and appeased a whole lot more fans if they just changed a couple of things. Maybe had him live on to episode 9, which everybody seems to agree was what they should have done. But I hope he does come back. I hope it's all bluffing, maybe something with an agent in the background, because I want to see Luke coming back. He's my favourite character, even if it is as a bit part player, maybe guiding Rey and helping the new fledgling group of Jedi coming up. I want to see him coming back, so I hope it's maybe him just having a little moan, having a little whinge, getting out of his system, and then he'll be back in episode 9, because we need a Luke, we need him.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it was Rian Johnson or someone from Lucasfilm, Disney, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that this last episode was going to tie up the prequel, the original and the sequel films all nicely in a nice little bow. I can't remember where I got that from, but I do remember reading that somewhere, which certainly is, John, because I certainly, like most Star Wars fans, have these scenarios playing in your head how you'd like to see. Certainly I had it for The Last Jedi with the Knights of Ren, etc. I certainly hope that band of villains do crop up somewhere in the last episode. Certainly I would like to see Rey with her back against the wall at some point against these villains, with possibly a Luke, Yoda and Obi-Wan Force Ghost coming out to do battle. I think that would be epic. Rian Johnson certainly quashed the Ewan McGregor's incarnation of Obi-Wan appearing, certainly in interacting with Luke Skywalker because it wouldn't make sense that this incarnation of Obi-Wan did not interact with Luke Skywalker at any point, certainly as an older man with the Alec Guinness portrayal. But I certainly would like to see something like that happening. I think it would be a lot of fan service. It certainly would patch up a lot of the relationships between the filmmakers and the fans, certainly more the older fans who were a bit disillusioned with Episode 8. So who knows? I just don't want to see the actual man, Mark Hamill, being very soured with his experience of this sequel trilogy. I hope it is just all a part of negotiation tactics or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, that quote of them maybe tying in the prequel, the sequel, and the original trilogy all together, that's interesting, because that maybe play into them maybe bringing Hayden Christensen back as a Force Ghost, as also Anakin Skywalker. I'd love to see that.
Well,
that's something.
In Return of the Jedi between Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly, Stephen. And that's why I'd like to see him come in. Obviously, he was in Return of the Jedi, and I would have loved to have seen him in The Last Jedi as well. I was very disappointed he didn't pop up. But yeah, I mean, that was interesting, Stephen. And I agree with you. Final thing I'll say, I hope he isn't soured on Star Wars, because the man is synonymous with Star Wars, absolutely loves it. And we just want to see a happy Mark in the end. I love Mark, and I want to see him back as Luke, because I love Luke as well. But moving on to the next topic, Stephen, we're going to discuss the recent news that Lucasfilm scan all of the lead actors for later use. That is very cool.
Yep, from George Lucas's original trilogy to the prequel saga, the Star Wars franchise has always pushed the boundaries of technology and what is achievable in film, John. Now, we certainly saw this more notable in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, with Peter Cushing's Grand Moff Tarkin and Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia. There's certainly a clue there to the future, where Lucasfilm are now scanning all lead actors, and visual effects supervisor Ben Moss explained, "We will always digitally scan all the lead actors in the film. We don't know if we're going to need them. We don't intentionally scan them as an archive process. It's for reference later." Very interesting quote there from Ben Morris. Now, there was another scenario that probably a few people haven't really explored, and that is a lot of people would assume that this would be the technology to be able to recreate characters, etc. But there is another interesting take on this, and I think this was picked up on a topic that I saw on YouTube, that a chap had actually mentioned that the Star Wars Black series, where they actually used actors' scanned images to recreate these figurines, if you like, it could be that as well.
Yeah, I think it was Ken Knapsack. I was watching Jedi Council, and he says they always historically had issues recreating Princess Leia in toy form. They had real difficulty, and now that they get these scans, they could do a better job, and we've seen a more accurate representation of her in the Black series. So that was cool. Just the article itself, Stephen, on this, I found it really, really interesting. The way they spoke about how they created that Princess Leia in space scene in The Last Jedi. I love things like this. I always remember, I believe it was a Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago, 2016 maybe, I think it was in London, where they had a panel dedicated to all the behind the scenes stuff and the technical stuff, how they done the animations, how they done the sets. I love all this. I love seeing intricate details and how they create all of this, because Star Wars is an incredible visual masterpiece. People just take it for granted when they watch these films. The animations, the sound, the visuals, it's unbelievable what these chaps do. I think it was ILM and Lucasfilm, they're real pioneers in these films, what they do. They've been pioneers for 30-40 years now, so I love seeing the behind the scenes stuff, and just what they say about there was 3 different layers to that scene, where they had a stunt double, they had Carrie's performance, and then they had the CG digital stuff put on top. And when you watch that scene, it's so beautifully brought together. It's amazing. You wouldn't think there was 3 different elements of this making this whole thing work. I love the fact that they go in and do all these scans. I knew they did this with props and ships and stuff like that, because we've seen this used in Battlefront most recently, and the other Star Wars games, where they take the scans and they obviously create high detailed versions of this in video games and stuff like that. So it's interesting seeing that they actually take this further and use it for the actors as well. And it does open up possibilities in the future that we could, maybe with the permission of the actors' families, we could see these people coming back, much like what they did with Tarkin. Also, when the technology improves a little bit, because that was jarring I enjoyed it myself. I loved these scenes in Rogue One. I couldn't wait to see him come back on when I was watching it, but it is jarring. But when this technology improves, and it's improving all the time, you just need to look at years back, the early attempts at this. As we've spoken about in the past, even with the Marvel films, you see it improving gradually as the years go on. So I would love to see them maybe use this in the future. I'm not saying I'd like to see it with Princess Leia, because I know a lot of people are firmly against that, me included, I've got to be honest. If we're going to see Princess Leia popping up in episode 9, I'd rather it be a recast. Or maybe seeing her dying off screen and we get told it at some point in the beginning of the film, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Stephen. I love seeing the behind the scenes workings of how they do this, how they make these things possible, all these scenes and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I love it.
I think it's interesting, John, that we're at a stage now where these props are being scanned for film and, you know, transferring over to video game and from video game to film. You know, I think that's the stage we're at now. It's certainly not technology that Lucasfilm are a stranger to. We've seen it when they superimposed Ian McDiarmid's face onto a stunt double. Ian McDiarmid was obviously an elderly man and certainly couldn't pull off some of the moves that Palpatine was performing in episode 3. Same again with an actor classically trained as Christopher Lee, who was probably in his 70s at the time of Attack of the Clones. And that digital enhancement of superimposing his image onto a body double for those lightsaber scenes, so it's certainly something that can work. Certainly those scenes that I just described have certainly dated since then, but I think we've came a long way from 13-15 years ago. As far as scanning these actors' faces, it does open up the possibilities to bridging the gap between certain episodes, episode 6 and episode 7, certainly with Luke Skywalker. Who knows? We possibly might see a Luke Skywalker film somewhere popping up in that timeline. Who knows? But it's very interesting that that they're doing this. I think this is going to be a technique that most studios will probably be attached to now. Certainly for you just don't know what's round the corner with actors. As we've seen from Carrie Fisher's sad and tragic death. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I've used this recently, Stephen, and I, Tonya, actually mentioned it in my review, where they superimposed Margot Robbie's face onto a stunt double. It was doing some of the more intensive ice skating stuff. I know she'd learned to skate to some degree, but they used a professional skating and superimposed it, and it was very realistic. It wasn't jarring for me. It was slightly noticeable, but as I said earlier, that technology will improve gradually as we go on. But yeah, I'll let you in.
They did something similar to the 4K release of Terminator 2 as well. Yeah. I think they did a lot of sort of patched up work on Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double, and certainly in those chase scenes, the early chase scenes in the film, which were very noticeable, in the initial release.
Yeah, that was the bike, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe, you never know, Stephen, that might help them sort the prequel trilogy out in the future. Lord knows they can go back and maybe rework that. We were just discussing that before we came on. I think you were watching Attack of the Clones the other day. Yeah. It says the films aren't that bad. The storytelling is fantastic for the most part, but just that CG is jarring. And obviously the dialogue, you can't sort the dialogue. But I'm rambling here, Stephen. We're moving on swiftly to the next topic, which is about the Rogue One character, the mysterious Rogue One character that popped up in the latest Soul trailer. I didn't see him, Stephen, but some eagle-eyed chat from, I believe, Screen Rant or something noticed it in the trailer, and now we're getting some information on this character. This is so Star Wars for me, because that's one of the things I love about Star Wars over the years. You get these minor side characters that pop up for maybe 10 seconds in films, and then it opens up the door for them to be fleshed out. We get them in canon novels and comic books and stuff, and we see them growing and flowering off and becoming bigger and greater things. We've seen this so many times before, Stephen. We've even seen it in Rebels recently, where we've had a character created in Rebels, and then he's been tied into the bearded chap in the Endor scenes in Return of the Jedi. So that's one of the great things about Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a bounty hunter known as Tam Posla, John. This was what we... If you've got the Ultimate Visual Guide to Rogue One, which I've got, I think it's an absolute amazing book, which describes Tam Posla as a former lawman turned bounty hunter. And according to the book, Posla was on Jeddah hunting for Ponda Boba and Dr. Evazan, two characters from the Cantina scene of the original Star Wars who make a more notable cameo in Rogue One. I love these things, John. Certainly the time period in Rogue One and Han Solo, it's not a major gap from what I believe. So it would make sense that these sort of cameos would turn up anyway. Who knows the screen time this bounty hunter is going to get? Who knows? We'll obviously know in a month's time. I certainly didn't pick up on it in the trailer. But it's just those little interesting tidbits that that make Star Wars so much fun to watch, and but there'll be certainly more as the film is released. We'll notice more of these little Easter eggs.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much like a Boba Fett type character, isn't he? He's very, very cool looking. He also reminds me of I can't remember the name of them. It might be Quarian or something. The characters from the Mass Effect trilogy. They were similar. The helmet, very similar design. Very, very cool armour. And as I said, it's just so Star Wars. You see these minor side characters for like 10 seconds in a film. I think he was part of the Holy City in Jeddah in Rogue One. He pops up. So, I mean, it's so cool that they've worked this character into Rogue One. They're fleshing his character out more. I'm sure he'll pop up in the comic if he hasn't already. I think he has actually. I read that in one of the articles. He's been fleshed out. But I've not really got much more to add to it, Steve. It's very, very cool. I just wonder what sort of a role he is going to have in a Star Wars story, whether he's going to be just superfluous to the whole story, really just a side character again, much like a Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi before he gets into action with the Barge, maybe just sitting off at the side of this Sabak game, or whether he's going to be one of the prominent characters, maybe helping out the Enfys Nest villain, who incidentally we're going to get into in a moment, but it's been revealed she isn't the main villain. But I digress. You want to come in with the last topic?
Yeah, John, we finally know more about the Solo Star Wars story villain after the trailer dropped last week, John, with some amazing footage from the upcoming Star Wars spin-off. We don't really know much about the core story of the project, aside from the fact that it does look like a kind of western heist type of film from what we see. And that said, new details seem to have emerged about the new Solo villain, Infest Nest, and it looks like the armour-clad villain will actually be a woman. Future of the Force writer Thomas Story took this new information revealed on a piece of French merchandise to social media and wrote, "So while we don't know much about Infest Nest, this seems to suggest that the character will actually take the form of a female villain. Having said that, it doesn't provide us with too much information about who she is, what her motivations are, or how Han Solo will cross paths with her during his journey. As we already noted, Solo A Star Wars Story will come chock full of gangster characters like Paul Bettany's Dryden Voss and Woody Harrelson's Toby's Beckett, but it looks like she may actually run her own gang of bandits known as the Cloud Riders."
Yeah, I touched upon this a couple of weeks ago, Steve, and this was kind of a play on the expanded universe, where she was in it, she was running a swoop bike gang, I think it was. I've not read that specific book that she popped up in, if it was indeed a book and not a comic. But yeah, I mean, the character itself was very, very cool looking. The character, we spoke about this last week with the trailer, and the armour's very, very cool. I wasn't aware it was a female character until very recently. There was some people playing in, could this maybe be the character of Kira in disguise? Is she double? Nah, yeah. Is she maybe dressing up in the form of this character and maybe betraying the Solo character? I don't know. Maybe she's not. Maybe it's a completely different actress. But certainly it's very interesting. It's not very often in Star Wars that we get to see female villains. I think Captain Phasma is the only one that really pops to mind for me. So it's interesting to see that popping up. We'll kind of get a flip of the roles we've been getting in recent standalone and the new release of Star Wars films, where we've got a female protagonist on the good side, and then we've got maybe a bad male on the other side. Now we're getting the white male as the main actor on the good side, and we've got a female villain, so that'll maybe appease those butthurt crybabies that were saying it was all pro-feminist. We can't please everyone these days. We've got the social justice warriors on one side, and we've got the anti-feminists on the other side. This will maybe please them, Lord knows. But the character's very interesting, as I said, Stephen. They say she's an extremely dangerous marauder who has quickly forged an infamous reputation for herself and her gang of pirates. The most interesting thing I take out of this, as I touched upon before we got onto this topic, was that it's been revealed she won't be the lead villain of Solo. Instead, she's going to serve as a secondary antagonist. That opens up a whole bunch of interesting questions for me. Who is this lead villain? Why has it not been shown in the trailer? Has it been shown in the trailer? Maybe Beckett, we're seeing him in an earlier part, it's a flashback. Because certainly there was discussions that we're going to get a flashback of Han when he was younger with Kira, and that this might be this swoop bike gang chasing him in the speeder, and maybe it will jump on. Maybe we get to see Beckett when he first meets Han, puts him on this course of being a smuggler, then he turns full villain and betrays Han, I don't know. But certainly this mention that she's going to be a secondary antagonist, it's very, very interesting to me. I wonder whether we're going to see Jabba popping up. Is he going to be the antagonist? Are we going to see Boba Fett popping up? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard their role is very substantial in this film, John. Rumours suggest it could be Lily Newmark. This remains unconfirmed, so we don't know. Personally, I don't think it really matters. If they're going to be wearing an armour, it doesn't really matter who is behind the mask and the costume anyway, regardless of it being female or not. I seem to recall the character of Greedo was actually played by a female anyway.
Yeah,
it
was.
And I certainly didn't cross my mind what Greedo was, male or female. Couldn't really care less. It's just a pretty cool villain for its day. Certainly a flip on... you know, if it's going to go down the road that this is going to be a rouge, if you like, and it turns out that it's Kira under the costume, certainly would be a reverse role from what we saw in Return of the Jedi with Leia disguised as a bounty hunter, obviously to rescue Han and Chewie. But, I mean, well, it remains to be seen just how big this role is going to be, but I'm certainly looking forward to this film coming out in just 4 weeks' time or so, and those little droplets of information that's now coming out about this standalone film really intrigues me.
Yeah, the final thing I'll say, Stephen, is that I'm just happy to see them delving back into the expanded universe and bringing it all in and linking these little canon characters in with the main cinematic things. I always like to see that happening. I want to see them delving back into the expanded universe, because certainly the 5, 6, 7, maybe more books that I read, they weren't the best stories for the most part, but there was an array of interesting characters in there. I just want to see Mara Jade coming back at some point, but I'm getting diverted. That's a whole different topic, Stephen, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point in the future. And yeah, that really does just end this week's episode of the Force Friday show. And we'd like to just thank you once again for listening to us, and we'll be back next week to do it all again. Remember guys, if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, then do subscribe to us on YouTube at Movie Burner Entertainment, and on iTunes and Google Play at the Movie Burner Podcast, whilst also giving us a little follow on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Burners. You can also catch up with all the latest reviews we're putting out on the Movie Burner blog at movieburnerintertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.